Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, man. It's your boy, and I had a couple of you guys hit me up on Discord over the past couple of days asking about ways to increase your combat class because you're trying to get over this new hurdle, the 4 million box CC or account combat class requirement, so that you can unlock the 12% HP buff for all of your heroes. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. 15 different ways, give or take, in regards to how you increase your combat class in 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross, because combat class is very important. It's basically what dictates who goes first and who goes second. The person with the most combat class will always go first. That's just how the game works. So if you want to go first more often, then you need to build up your account so you can get to the point where you have more combat class than the majority of the players that you face. And there's a couple ways of doing that, okay? Because going first gives you, like, I would say, a 90% chance of winning every game you go into. Personally, that's just how I feel about going first. There's a lot of teams that can work really well going second, especially if the RNG is on your side, or if you know how to counterplay the team that you're going up against. But going first with a lot of teams in the game give you a massive advantage. You can kill off a unit or get a unit down to like 25% HP and essentially make it so that your enemy is fighting an uphill battle. And if you just keep the pressure on their necks, there's no way they can recover. So going first is a very big deal. All right, so let's talk about ways you can increase your CC. We'll start with like team CC because that's fairly easy and straightforward. So let's go to PvP. This is a PvP team that I'm trying to bring back. We'll talk about that in another video. So this is basically my main PvP team when I'm climbing in Elite. Now let me say this. Right now in the game, anybody can increase their CC at any time very easily if they just use CC food. It's the easiest way to increase your combat class. So like you can just go to any mission, or you can go to PvP, you click on anything, and then before the match starts you eat CC food. This gives you up to 12% increase to your combat class. So if you ever go into a fight in PvP and you see somebody with CC that's over, let's see, over 245k, then they're using CC food. I think the highest you can get to right now without using CC food is about 245. If all of your units are 6 out of 6, all of the associations are 6 out of 6, you have max gear rolls, max substats, and max cosmetics, which we'll talk about, right? So if you ever see an enemy combat class that's over 245 in PvP, geared PvP, right? So elite PvP, they're using CC food. In ungeared PvP, if you see anybody over 145, then they're using CC food. Okay, that's the easiest way to increase your CC or your combat class. Next thing we got to talk about is links and associations. So for example, right here, as you can see, Merlin has a link with Escanor. And that link, let me just switch it up. That link with Merlin actually gives him quite a bit. It gives him 19% crit chance, but on top of that, it also gives him 1,000 additional combat class. But on top of that, because my Merlin is 6 out of 6, meaning her ultimate level is at 6, I actually transfer up 10% of Merlin's base stats, which includes any gear and any cosmetics that's on Merlin. So because her ult level is 6 out of 6, as you can see, she transfers up 10% of her total stats, attack, defense, HP, to Escanor to buff his stats further. Links and associations are very good. So in most cases, you want to use characters that either have a link or an association to that character in some way, shape, or form. But if they're not linked to them, if they don't offer, like, if you don't see one of these symbols, basically, right? You then look for characters that have their ult levels maxed out. That way they give you 10% of their basic stats. So if I go to like my Mon Speed here, my Mon Speed is only 1 out of 6. So he's only going to transfer up 5% of his total base stats, which is attack, defense, and HP, right? So he has no link to Escanor, but I can still give some of his stats to Escanor by putting him as a link, but it's only going to be 5% because he is only 1 out of 6 on his ult level. You can see right here, right? So best advice I can give to you guys is always use characters that have a combined attack if they have one, right? Because that's going to give you the most value. If they don't have a combined attack, then you want to go with an association of some kind that gives you some additional substats like pierce rate, crit chance, HP, lifesteal, etc. And then that way you'll get some additional base stats as well. If they don't have the combined attack or the link, then you go for somebody else who is 6 out of 6. Ideally a character that starts off as an SSR, because an SSR, like for example Kyo, who's 6 out of 6, is going to give you more base stats than an SR that's 6 out of 6. But just keep in mind, it is much easier to get your SR units 6 out of 6 because every time you summon, you're going to get dupes for them, right? So anyways, let's move on to the next thing that we can talk about here, and that is cosmetics. Cosmetics are very, very important. You want to buy cosmetics for any character that you see yourself using a lot, because having more cosmetics will increase your combat class. So like for example, on my Meliodas here, he's at 51,843. If I just go ahead and just unequip a bunch of his cosmetics, you'll see just how much he falls, right? The next thing we'll talk, so like for example, you can see he dropped like over 1,800 right there from just taking off his cosmetics. But it's more than just taking off his cosmetics, because in addition to cosmetics, actually buying the cosmetics, you're gonna have to actually upgrade them. If you want to get the maximum combat class out of every single character, you want to upgrade their cosmetics using cosmetic upgrade materials. Okay, so next thing you got to do, and this is probably the easiest way to get yourself to 4 million. Okay, so what we talked about first is just team CC, right? Because account CC is going to be a long-term project. This is not something you're going to accomplish overnight. This is going to take you a few months. But team CC is something you should always be working on, because you want to enjoy the game, and PvP is a very big part of 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. So one of the easiest ways to increase your account CC, because 4 million is the ultimate goal right now, but there is other thresholds to hit until you get to 4 million, right? You start off at 500k, 750, 1 million, 1.2, 1.5, etc, 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 right? So you work up to that by one, leveling up your characters. So like you can take a look at my account CC right here. I'm at 4 million, and then we got like 25,000 there. So if I just easily go like this and just throw some potions into this guy, now if I get lucky, we can get him to 50 without, okay, so we didn't get lucky. Why would I expect to get lucky? I don't know. Anyways, man, okay, now we get lucky when we already freaking maxed it out, whatever. So you just go back here and you'll notice that my combat class for my account went up by me increasing the levels on King. We went up from what, 25k to 32, so 4 million, and then we have 32,000. Another thing, super easy way to get more combat class is actually to regular awaken your character, right? So you just do like this, get them to 6-star awaken. So we were at 32, and by the time we're done this, I believe we'll be at like 35, right? So let's just do this really quickly. I wish there was like a way to just do all the stars at once without using like this ticket here, because this ticket is pretty valuable. As you can see, they're selling it for $32. Okay, so I got to get some more things for this guy. I should have checked to see who do we have all the stuff for. So just doing that halfway gave us like 2k, right? Do I have all the stuff for her? You can kind of see, okay, I don't have all the stuff for her. I need to do some more farming. I recently pulled these guys. I'll put the summoning video up before or after this, whichever one. But basically you can see that by awakening your characters and by leveling them up, you will get a lot of combat class added to your account like naturally, right? And obviously you want to push these characters all to level 80, because once you push them to level 80, that's going to give you the most value out of them. Okay, another thing that we got to talk about is unlocking their uniques. So this thing right here, once your character gets to 1600 combat class, which you can easily do by just putting some gear on them. So let's do that really quickly. Even at level 50, we should get enough. Yep. So once you unlock this unique, you will get about 400 additional combat class. So like, for example, just take a look right here. We're at 28. And because I changed around the gear on my King from a King that was at level 80 to a King that's at level 60, right? This is the King that had the gear on before, right? I believe it was Red King, either one, right? This one. right? Because I changed around the gear from a king that was at level 80 to a king that's at level 50, you can see that my combat class fluctuated to show that I changed around the gear, which is fine, right? But basically what we're going to do here is just jump in, do the mission to unlock his unique, and once we unlock his unique, we should go up by 400 combat class. So we'll do that really quickly here. I'm not even going to show that. I'm just going to cut it out. So now we have his unique available, and when we go back, we should be able to just easily unlock it right here. So you can see Awakened Power was unlocked. And then if we go back here, we're now up from 28.3 to 28,822. So unlocking your unique will give you some additional CC both for the character and for your box. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that by increasing your character's ultimate level, you will also gain additional combat class for your character and account combat class. So I'll show that to you guys really quickly here with King's Ultimate, for example. So just take a look at his combat class that we're starting at. We're at 31,375, and then by adding 1 in, it will always give you the exact same amount of combat class, by the way. So we're at 31,375, and then we went up to 31,775, and if we do that one more time, which we can, we'll just do that, and then you will see we're at 32,175. You'll always get the same amount of combat class. I believe it's 400 per dupe level for the character, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Another thing that you should do is actually this: max out the affinity for your characters, because when you max out the affinity, you also get a free piece of cosmetic, and that cosmetic will actually help you give your character more CC, and obviously that's going to increase your box CC as well. All right, we already talked about leveling up the cosmetics, so just keep that in mind. That's something you want to do. Also, you get free diamonds here, so you definitely should do that, even if you have all the cosmetics for the character already. Like if you already have 5 pieces of cosmetic equipped for each character, right, you should still do the affinity thing. I see a lot of people not doing it, but you should still do it just to get the free diamond, because every character offers you 1 free diamond for upgrading your affinity, right? Next thing is the gear that you give to your characters. It is highly recommended that if a character is not a DPSer, you give them HP defense. King is pretty unique, especially since there's so many variations of King. The Green King actually does really well with like triple crit damage for Grey Demon or for PvP. And then we have Blue King and Red King, which is HP defense, and this one right here can be a little bit different. He can be HP crit damage, attack crit damage, all that stuff, but that's not what this is about. The gear that you put on your character will increase their combat class, so that is something you need to keep in mind. If you guys want me to make like an in-depth guide for what gear to give to what character, let me know. We can definitely do that, okay? But HP defense will always give you the most combat class, and attack defense will be right after that, so just keep that in mind, okay? Super Awakening, that's another thing. Super awakening your character after they get all their stars, their first 6 stars, you can start super awakening them. So like for example, who's somebody I want to super awaken? I guess maybe Hendrickson. Where is that fool? Hello, where is Demon Hendrickson? He's up here. So like for example, this guy, I already have him 6 stars, so now I can start super awakening him. Super awakening him will give me additional stats for him. Right, so we just go like this. So let's take a look at his combat class before we begin. We're at 28, pretty much 28 exactly, right? So we'll just go here, we'll super awaken him 1 time, just to show you guys like a visual representation of his CC going up and the box CC changing as a result of that. So we were at 28. As you can see, we went up by almost 800, right? Just under 800 combat class for super awakening a character. So that will give you a ton of combat class. Last thing that I want to go over here, there's still more things that I want to go over, but I don't want to make this video like 30 minutes long, because most of you guys are going to see 30 minutes and you're not going to watch it as a result of that. So I want to keep this thing short and concise to give you guys as much information as possible and keep it at a respectable length so you feel like you're getting value. All right, another thing that you need to consider, and the most important thing, well, not the most important thing, because you can still have really good combat class without having this, but it will give you a ton of combat class for all your characters and your box as well. And that is UR gear. Giving your character, by the way, I have HP defense for my Kyo, but giving your character UR gear by going to Merlin and engraving it will give your character a lot of combat class. It's very if as a free-to-play player, it's very difficult to get enough purple stones to UR gear for a lot of characters, so you should choose wisely who you UR gear for and make sure that the gear that you are UR for them is actually good for them. But UR gear on your character is a really good way of giving them a lot of combat classes. You can see I have 53k on Kyo, which is very good. I think the max you can get to, even for like the one on JP, is about 55k, and he is a beast. Like, he has really high combat class, right? So 53 on somebody like Kyo is actually very good, especially since this guy is missing a headpiece, right? So just keep that in mind. So we're gonna wrap the video up here. Hopefully it was informative. Anything else you guys want to see, let me know. If you guys want me to do like a gear video or anything along those lines to help you guys out, I'll be more than happy to do it. Till next time, be safe. I gotta get to grinding so I can build up Lilia and Fully Awakened King, and I'll give you guys a showcase on them, so look out for that. I'm gone. Peace.